Welcome to this video demonstration of NGRAIN Producer Pro. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate animations. In this topic, we will be discussing animations. An animation is a sequence of keyframes that can be played, paused, and stopped by the NGRAIN viewer user. You can create, edit, and manage animations. Animations are useful for remove and install procedures, maintenance training, system orientation, and damage assessment. You can create an animation that captures the moving relationship between parts, assemblies, or the whole model. To create an animation, adjust the workspace view. Once satisfied, come down to the animation timeline and double-click. You will then capture your very first keyframe. From this point, any movement or displays you have in the workspace will be captured in your second keyframe. For instance, if I rotate this object, come down in the timeline and double click, it will now take this model animation from the 0-second mark to the 14-second mark. If that's unsatisfactory, simply hold down your left mouse button and slide the second keyframe to the desired timing. I can remove parts off, double click on the timeline, select context view, double click on the timeline, rotate object, double click on the timeline, select the line drawing view, X-ray, and as you can see, my animation is slowly being built. I can stop right here, go back to my first keyframe, and select play, and I will then see what I've created so far. You can change the name of the animation so it has a title that is meaningful to NGRAIN viewer users. This is done by hitting the Animation Properties panel, selecting Animation 1, right-clicking, and hitting Rename. In this topic, we will be discussing editing an animation you've created. First, I can demonstrate how to add a keyframe to an existing animation. For instance, in the animation down below, if I double-click on the 44-second mark, this keyframe will now appear in the workspace. Then, I can make a small change. Let's say I want to add an arrow. When satisfied, I can go back into my timeline, click into some dead space, right-click, add keyframe. The new keyframe would be captured. To test, go back a few keyframes, hit play, and my newly generated keyframe appears, and we're done. Next, I would like to demonstrate how to select keyframes, multiple keyframes, a section of keyframes, or an individual keyframe. A blue outline indicates your selection. By going into the timeline, I can select by holding down my left mouse button and selecting any keyframe. As you can see, it's outlined in blue. If I want to have a series of keyframes, simply select your first keyframe, go to anywhere down the list, hold down the Shift key, and all the keyframes in between will be selected. Holding down the Control key, I can then select individual keyframes. You can also use the animation panel to do exactly the same thing. You will see here on the left-hand side in the bottom, everything I select on the animation panel will also be selected in the animation timeline. Next, I would like to demonstrate how to copy a keyframe. You can copy one or more keyframes to a different position in the animation or to another animation. Simply select the keyframe, right-click, copy, move down the timeline, right-click, paste. If you have a series of keyframes, select the keyframe, hold down the Shift key, right-click, copy, paste. If you'd like to delete keyframes, simply select the keyframe, right-click, delete. Warning message will appear. Are you sure? Yes. If you want to delete a series, hold down the Shift key, right-click, delete. Yes. In this topic, we will be discussing recapturing a keyframe. In my demonstration, I will capture on the 27-second keyframe. Double-click. Let's say I want to make a change. I'll put it in context view. Come back down to the keyframe. Right-click, capture all. That keyframe has now been updated. Test your work. Slide back a few keyframes. Hit play. Here's my new keyframe. Now by watching this, I have noticed that the speed was a little too quick. At this point, I can then grab, shift, take all the keyframes and slide them to the appropriate location. So now I can go back a few keyframes, hit the play button, and let's see my new updated keyframe looks any better. There it is. Much better.